this is Mindy Yoshikawa, and I'm so excited to be here sharing Sunny Studio's Fall 2018 release along with a tutorial for our new sliding window dies midway through this video. Up first, we have our brand new paper packs, 6x6. They come loose in a plastic bag for anyone who hasn't purchased them before, and they're in really vibrant colors. This one here is called Preppy Prints, and there are 12 unique prints on this side with 2 of each sheet, and then you flip them over and you have another 12, so for 24 unique prints and 2 of each. And they're just really fun. So up next we have our dots and stripe jewel tones, and who doesn't love dots and stripes, right? And these are just, I really like that they're not your typical polka dot. They're just a really great tone on tone, not too distracting for your cards, and a really nice little stripe that is the perfect size. And our third set is our gingham jewel tones, and this is actually one of my personal favorites. I personally just love a little subtle print on the back here. It's just perfect for adding a little detail to a card without making it too overwhelming. And our third set, or excuse me, our fourth set is called Amazing Argyle, and it's super fun for fall. It has argyle on one side and a really fun wood grain on the back side. These are gonna coordinate also with a really fun product that we're gonna have in our holiday release, so just a little sneak there. I like that each collection has 2 different browns. I found myself using those a lot. And here's just one more look at the 4 pads. So nice to have them loose like that so you don't have to have it torn along the top. So here's our layering set for fall. It's called Fruit Cocktail. It kind of is along the lines of our previously released Berry Bliss, although the fruit are similar in size, so it may not work well to have them next to each other, like a strawberry the same size as a peach. But just really fun images, and they look so realistic when you layer them. There's a sentiment that you can add a Y on the end of apple for happily ever after, and I think there's like 13 different sentiments you can get out of those words at the top, so lots of fun variety. We have the greetings word die there. And then we have a really cool new happy word die with a really fun script. It's 4.5 inches wide, so it will cover a good part of the front of a card, along with our happy thoughts stamps. And here's an example using it, and I've stamped the happy in the background and then used that nice big happy word die on top. And I added a little foam tape to distort the background a little bit. And then this one I've heat embossed the word happy repeatedly across the front and then masked it off and inked it up. And here we are using the our Harvest Happiness stamps and our Happy Halloween. So lots of fun ways to use it all year round though. And here we have our Happy Harvest stamps and dies. Has a really fun tree that you can personalize with a carved heart or a happy face in the center, and a tree stump, and sunflowers and pumpkins. And this one is a really fun one that actually coordinates with a happy harvest really well. So many great scenes you can build, as you'll see here in a second. And our new Fall Flicks film strip die, you can layer pumpkins and sunflowers. They're pretty small, I will warn you, if you struggle with small items, because they're meant to be complementing the stamps without being too oversized. But look at that. Don't they just create these cool, vibrant die cuts? So these are the pumpkins all layered up. You can see how small they are, but they just have such a wow factor. And this tree here, I will say that you really probably want the die. I did use it on that card, but I didn't on this first one or this next one I'm showing you. And man, it took me like a half an hour to cut that tree out. And so here I've used the film strip die in a vertical card, so it's a perfect spot for sentiment there. And a fun little card using the gal with the umbrella from our Fall Kiddos set. And here's the sunflower stamps from the stamp set versus the die set. So they're similar in size, but they're just two different looks from the same set, or similar sets. So coming up next is our Home Sweet Gnome with these adorable little gnomes. I gotta tell you, I'm not normally a gnome person, but the more I played with these, the more I was just in love. And this is a fun comic strip die that has everyday pieces to build houses and cars and trees and sunshines, and a little border set called Woodland Borders that can build 3 trees with their tree stumps. And here's an example using that comic strip die. I made the houses look 3D with some foam tape. And here's another just straight use without the actual border frame. And you can see I kind of popped them up to make them look more realistic. And here's using the comic strip die without the inside pieces, and I just backed it with some pattern paper, that paper that I was saying was my favorite. And here's using the die on the horizontal versus the vertical, and all the cute little gnomes. I love that border of grass. It's like the perfect size for these little guys. And here's a card using the woodland borders with the trees. I colored those with my Copic marker and just did brush strokes onto white cardstock. And it comes with 4 possibilities for the hillside there. And then it has a little bonus die that allows you to create a pop-up there. I just kind of squeezed it in an extra space that would have been wasted. But it needs to have, to be really easy to use, you need to draw a little 1/2 inch mark on the back side so that you know where to line it up on your fold. So I just took a Sharpie and I used my ruler and just did a 1/2 inch mark from the opposite side of the score line. And then you want to line that up. Start by drawing a pencil line across the center portion of your card and lining that line that you've drawn on the die with the center point, and then running it through your die cutting machine, and then you can score around them. So here we have our beautiful autumn stamp. It's a super fun little 2x3 stamp set that has so many possibilities for a great price. I love that autumn season sentiment. So here's one example I used with my Copic markers, and another one where I watercolored the leaves and then masked them off and inked around them. And then here's an example, or here's our Nutty For You dies. And so you can layer these in a variety of ways. This one is a little shaker I created where I built up the top portion of the acorn on top of the acetate. And here I've used felt, which is just a really fun texture and super cute. And I've also created one without the face as a gift tag. And here's a little peek of one that I've attached to our new slider window dies, and combined it again with the beautiful autumn stamp set. So here's our sliding window dies available for purchase today, and it comes with 2 labels and one label and 2 tags as a bonus. And here's an example with the little girl and Fall Kiddos that you can slide. So much fun. and another one combining our woodland border trees with the fall kiddos. And here I've used our sunny semicircles to create a rainbow. And here's another one I've done, which I'm actually going to show a tutorial in just a moment on this, so stick around. I've had some requests on how to use these sunny semicircles for a rainbow, as well as I want to share how to actually assemble and create these sliding cards. So here they are, all open. And here's some little cute tags I created with the bonus. There's like, you know, a negative space that was going to go wasted, so I put in some tags and some labels, and just really fun size for, especially for Christmas, they'd be great. So I've started by cutting apart the dies, and I've centered it in the center of my card. I use my centering ruler by Tim Holtz, and I roughly leave a 1/2 inch from the bottom and on each side. And then I've adhered it with a little bit of medical tape. And then on the opposite end, you're going to want to put your little notched cutout so you can pull it out. And it's been designed so that it has a solid edge to line up on the edge of your card, so you know where to put it each time. And here I've already run it through my die cutting machine. And there's that little notch, which is like perfect every time because you can see where to line it up. So mine happens to be a prototype die, which is has the stitching on all 4 sides, but I found in use that it was a little too weak there. It wanted to fold on the stitch lines. So for the when I made more, I designed them all to just have a fold line along the top so that you guys wouldn't have to do this, but I've reinforced mine on the back with some Scotch tape. I'm just too cheap, honestly, to buy open another package, so I decided to make do with what I have. I'm thrifty. So anyway, here I'm trying to figure out the what I want in my little window when I pull it up, and so I'm positioning my stamps based on what I'm going to see, because I learned the hard way that just guessing where it is, sometimes you're going to put it too low. So I'm inking up my stamp here with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink, I believe. Yeah. And I like it to be nice and dark, so I usually stamp twice. And I'm famous for getting my fingers inky, so I'm, as you'll see here in a minute. So I created a little mask out of some post-it tape, or sorry, post-it notes or whatever that are sticky on the entire surface. And I'm going to position my rainbow over, and then I realize I'm going to actually end up seeing where there should have been another cloud, so I'm going to add that here too. It wasn't something I had originally planned when I started this video, so as you'll see, I kind of have to go and create another mask here in a second. Trying to get everything cleaned up because I just know I'm going to get my fingers in it, and I do. So here I am creating a second mask. And I will say that I thought all I needed was the top part, but as I go on, I end up needing the entire thing cut out. So I should have probably just cut it out, and I probably would have done it anyway if I were just doing it for myself, but I was trying to hurry for the video. So anyway, as the design progresses, I decided that I really wanted to have the background inked up around it, so I end up masking everything off again. So going in for the second stamp. See, I got my ink up there. Luckily, it's in a spot where I won't even see it. That frame is going to cover it. It's always like magic seeing the mask pulled off. So I'm going to color all the images with my Copic markers, and I tried to speed this up for you guys because I know this video runs kind of long, and you might even want to speed it up some more, but I'm sharing the colors I've used. Honestly, this rainbow's small enough that I probably could have just gotten by with a single color for each one, but I had already kind of tested out some colors to see what would match the pattern paper I was using later, so I decided to just stay with it. Although here I honestly forgot that I was doing 2 colors and I colored the entire thing, so I just went back and got some of the little crevices that I had missed with the other color. I'm going to add some music here so you don't have to listen to me yap or sit in silence. I'll be back in just a sec. Okay, I'm back. So I have decided that I will stamp my sentiment, and I will say in hindsight that I should have waited and done this after my background, but at this point I still thought maybe I would leave the background white. But I go back here and I ink the entire background with Distress ink, and I nearly smudged my sentiment. So especially if you're using like Versa fine ink, I would recommend saving the stamping for last. But this kind of slider card is really helpful to have a flat card with nothing sticking out on it. So that's why I've chosen to do a design that is with masking versus layers. So I'm stamping it. My VersaFine ink actually had the lid break off, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love it this way. So I just keep it together with a rubber band. So here I've stamped my sentiment, and once again I'm going to test it. Or not. So I'm covering it up with my previous masks. And here's where I realize, oh, I need to cut out the bottom. But then I think, oh, I only need part of the bottom. But then later I realize I should have done the whole thing because I used it again. This mask ends up getting used 3 times during this card. So got my Post-it note worth. And I had done beforehand a mask for the rainbow portion. And just folded it over there on the edge so that it wouldn't be in my way. And now I'm pulling out 2 different kinds of distress inks. I didn't know which one I was going to use, but in the end I only used Broken China. And then I was like, wait, I don't have anything to ink up with. And rather than peel up my Tim Holtz mat that's like taped to my other desk, I just moved over this We Are Memory Keepers glass mat, which honestly is a great surface to ink on. I think I must have gotten my fingerprints on this card a lot though, because I'm just testing here to see if it matches the right color. But I had gotten my fingers on here one too many times, and it doesn't seem to blend as smoothly as it usually does. And I think that's because I had the oils in my hands or something on the card. Don't you wish you could like create a background this fast? This is sped up twice as fast, but I would love to be able to create a background this fast. I find myself inking up backgrounds, and here is where I about biffed it with my background, or with my sentiment there. I kind of could see a gray smudge, and I thought, well, I'll just keep going and be more careful. So I actually in the end decided I'm just going to kind of leave it light in the center, and I actually ended up liking the way it looks when it's done. It kind of looks like it's glowing. I did add a little bit of color, but not much near that sentiment, and just keep going around and around. And it was sort of blotchy. If it were like a front of a card, I probably would have tried to blend it heavier until it was smooth. But because it's on the underside of the slider, most likely people aren't going to pull it all the way up there to see what it looks like under there. So I just generally applied some color, and I thought I'll add a little bit more over there on the edge of that rainbow to give it some definition. Then I'm going to peel it off, and love that. Makes those clouds really pop now. Keep having to test it and look at it and test it some more. And I realized I needed to trim, so I did that off camera, but I trimmed the edge so that it wouldn't be peeking out. I'm going to set this aside, and now it's time to create the little mechanism to pull. And you need to cut a piece of cardstock or pattern paper 3 1/4 by 4 7/8 inch high. And we have instructions that you can print out on our blog that are really nice to refer to every time you use this die. But yeah, so I ended up using 120-pound Nina Solar White cardstock because it just makes it nice and strong. And I decided to do this off camera so that I didn't bore you guys. But I created basically the same idea on the opposite side and used the word hello from our Sunny Sentiment stamp set. And I have score tape in 3 different sizes, which for this card it actually is pretty handy, although not necessary. So I'm using 1/8 inch score tape on the very bottom, and that's going to be that little tiny fold that pulls and attaches to the bottom of the card to operate the card. And then I'm using 1/2 inch score tape along the bottom, and that's going to adhere directly down to the card. And on the sides, you kind of want thinner, because you want your slider to be able to slide back and forth freely. And on some of those that you saw that were too stiff of mine in examples, it's because I added the wider score tape, and I didn't give myself a wide enough channel for it to kind of have some wiggle room. So it really helps to use a thinner adhesive on the sides and just adhere it along the edge. So I'm peeling off my tape here, and I'm going to attach the bottom of that little panel with the edge of my window there. And I'm just sort of sliding it back and forth to see the edge, and it lines up perfectly. And you'll want to center it between the left to right as well, so that there's a little, like maybe 1/8 inch on each side. And I realized there that it was had a little overhang, so I trimmed a little bit off with my trimmer before putting it here. And now I'm going to mark the center so that I can poke a little hole and put an eyelet using my crocodile here. That will give me a place to put some twine to have a little grip so that the recipient can pull on it. I'm pulling off my tape here. This is where it like comes to life here. I realized this is like going to attach to my card base, and so it's really not going to be seen under there, and I didn't want to have any overhang, so I was just testing to see. So I'm going to cut all 4 edges just slightly smaller so that I don't have to struggle to get it on there perfectly. If it's off by a hair in the angle or something, it's going to be hidden. So, and then here's the magic, yay! And now we need to create that rainbow to pop up. So this is where our sunny semicircles come in. That's a mouthful, right? It's like a tongue twister. So this is what the dies look like when they're brand new in the package, and then I've clipped them apart. And for this tutorial, you can use them for the top of a tag and an arched window and everything, but here I've attached 2 with some of that medical tape to a piece of cardstock, and with the magic of TV, I've already had one cut out. I feel like I'm on a cooking show. Anyway, so next I will take the next size and the one size smaller and do the next color. And I love doing rainbows this way because I've had other dies where it's like you have to cut out the entire rainbow and you only need red in the red spot and orange in the orange spot. So it's a great way to conserve on paper, because as you know, I'm thrifty, right? So and then I'll show you at the end how you can use even the center part that is removed. So here I am just collecting my different colors, and I've pre-cut them all out off camera so that you don't have to sit and watch me do them one by one, but you get the idea of how to line it up on the edge of a piece of paper. And I've lost my purple, which I will find here in a minute. I was trying to search for it, but cleaning up a little bit because it looks like chaos, right? Now, I think there's a bunch of different ways you could adhere these together. Afterwards, I was thinking, oh, it would be really a great idea to just have like a piece of cardstock that I cut in that shape, like overall like a bigger piece with a little tiny cutout in the center for the center of the rainbow. But in this case, I decided to use one piece of tape at the bottom and just build up towards the top of the rainbow. And it worked well. So I'm building. This is actually sped up so fast. I was going so slow at this, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is so boring to watch. So and then hereafter I just flip the whole thing over and like tape the heck out of it. And it doesn't matter if the bottoms aren't all perfectly aligned, because I'm going to put some clouds on there, so it's going to be completely concealed and hidden, and nobody will be the wiser. I'm tearing my tape here so that it fits in the little spots without showing on the front. And there you go. So I've pre-stamped some clouds over here and die cut them out. Oh, and there's my purple. It was hiding under a cloud. For a minute, I actually questioned whether I had cut out a purple one. And for those little stripes, I've used our dots, what's it called? Polka Dot Parade from our summer collection. So it's all primary and really bright and happy dots. So on one side is that bigger dot, and on the other side is a little smaller tone-on-tone dot. And I am in love with my zig pin. So I'm using that to adhere my clouds along the top there, only adding adhesive there. And once I've got it just the way I want it, I realized that I don't want adhesive on all of the sides. I only want it where it's going to sit on that thing, because if I add adhesive everywhere, it's going to glue my card shut. I'm not going to be able to slide it. Sorry, don't mind my head. So I'm guessing like score tape or something probably would have been a great option for this, but I was just having my glue pen handy, and so I went for it. I'm kind of like, whatever adhesive is nearby is what I'm going to use. So I'm going to flatten it here, and I'm going to make sure to apply it above that score line so that it doesn't get bent there when I open my card. And now before I set it down really good and tight, I'm just wanting to double check that I got it centered and there's no adhesive showing on the back or anything. So I'm trying to kind of push it down, and then I'm going to flatten it and really push it down good. Got to come in with my adhesive eraser. I got some smudges on there. So now I need a sentiment, because I said inside when skies are gray, so now I'm going to say on the outside, you make me happy. And I was trying to fight an urge to heat emboss this. I really wanted to heat emboss it, but I was worried it would warp, and I didn't want to mess with that. So I decided to just continue using my VersaFine, since everything else had been stamped in black anyway. So there's that, and now I need to go back and add that eyelet. Do you still have some of those from like the early 2000s? I like stocked up, man, but I haven't used them except for these tags, so they're great for that. Anyway, so I'm setting an eyelet in the top, and I found some scraps of what is this? Baker's twine, and I'm trying to, these are the ones like on the Doodlebug cards, so they have that little fold already there, and rather than go iron it out or something, because that would really drive me crazy, I'm just using it to my advantage, and I'm gonna try to shove that part through this thing. But then I realized that's not gonna fit very well, so I went and got my paper piercer and like kind of hit it with that, and it immediately went through, which was awesome. So again, I'm using that fold to just have my knot right on that fold, and then I will cut them off before they start to kink there again. And I fiddle with these a lot, because I'm trying to get them so that they're like not having all the same colors next to each other. I'm coming in here with my Fisker scissors and trimming them. So now you can test it. Isn't that cool? It's like a blooming rainbows. So now I'm going to add some adhesive to my panel. You could have done this directly onto a card front, but I just didn't want to leave room for anything getting messed up, and also I wanted to kind of hide my Copic coloring that I did there that bleeds through. So I'm scoring my card, and here in a minute I realize it's just a little too close for comfort. Like they're almost the exact same size, and once again I know I'm gonna probably, you know, warble and get it off centered a tiny bit, so I decided to go trim the bottom a little bit, and I'm back already. Isn't that fast? And there we have it. It's a finished card. Yay! So here's my idea for using every bit of paper that came from those rainbows. So in this centers, you had those little pieces, right? And I decided I would layer them all to become a rainbow. And kind of reminds me of NBC or something for some reason, but that's a peacock, right? So anyway, is that maybe the Today Show? That's what it reminds me of. So I should have just left it like the Today Show rainbow, but I ended up putting some clouds on it too. Right now it looks like a taco, right? La-di-da-di-da, sorry. And then my final one here. So I thought I would have something on the inside of my card, because honestly I hardly ever put anything on the inside, and every single person I give it to or even show like a finished card, they open it and then I'm like, there's nothing in there. I guess I'm all about showing the outside. I figure I'm not going to show the inside in a vlog, so might as well not mess with it. But anyway, I finished one on the inside. And I kind of like that rainbow just the way it is, but I went ahead and added these clouds because I'd already cut them out, and it kind of makes it look like a chubby little rainbow. So here we have it. It's all finished, and I'll put it next to my original one that I created. The first one didn't have any color, and I realized I would like to add color. So here you have all of the cards that I've created for this release with this die. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you'll stop by our blog to see more. Thanks, and have a great day. Bye-bye.